Hi everybody, it's Red Bandana Hunters. We're back again here at live at the drafting table. So we're here chilling out. I got my awesome vest and my quad belt. So what we got here? So today we are doing a little video here for the early sense of the, should we say, an early video here for y'all on Halloween. So guess what, y'all? We are going to do something great for you. Yes, for you. All right. So today we are going to talk about Dracula. Yes, Dracula on Marvel. Yes, we're talking about Dracula from Marvel. And yes, Dracula from Marvel from our friends Vlad Dracula from the Marvel Database Wiki fandom. Dracula from Marvel uh, Earth 616. Okay, Dracula, as we know from Earth 616 or Marvel Earth 616, our Earth. Again, he has no relative. He's a single dude. He's a vampire. He's immortal. He's Dracula. And he's 6'5" and 220 pounds. He has red eyes, and his famous quote he says in the book is, "You will obey me in all things. You have no choice, for I am the Lord of the vampires. Forget your former life. You belong to my nation. Now." Count Dracula is a very old, century-old vampire, sorcerer, and Transylvanian legend, nobleman, and the rich, wealthy class, who rules with an iron fist, just like Doctor Doom does in Bavaria. Castle Dracula, as we know, famous Castle Dracula, in the land of Transylvania, he is the supreme ruler of the land, most powerful vampire of the world. Originally as a ruler, run again after Vlad the Impaler. He turned himself into a vampire following the battles that invaded the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire again was around Romania. However, they seek revenge to destroy his enemies unfit. Driven by lust for power and companionship and blood, his century of undead existence and his undead army that he brings to the dead. Again, hunters of vampire hunters and other immortal people, and in modern age superheroes, Dracula has a vast network of loyal servants, or cults, or brides, or turning women into their, his bride. Just like Frankenstein had a bride, Dracula also has brides. And there's also very, very many minions, not to get confused with the franchise minions, who regularly assist him in any attempts to resurrect him from the dead. Recently, legend has it, Dracula and his followers have taken refuge in Chernobyl, creating a new vampire nation, bringing the conflict with the Avengers. Legend has it, all the way back in the year 1431 AD, they have Dracula born in Strasbourg, which is now Transylvania, hence Romania, a small European nation of South Romania. He and his son also is, again, how they rule, again, Transylvania. 7 years old, he's allegedly the half brother of the throne of Wallachia, again, also made in Transylvania. Again, at some point or another, he also ruled against the king of Hungary, again, Austria, Hungary, just Hungary. Again, he joined the Order of the Dragon, and in 1444 AD, yes, 1444 AD, let me repeat that, 1444 AD, he's accompanied his dad and his brother Raidu in the road to the Ottoman Empire. Again, where he plans to negotiate a peace treaty where he ambushes the Ottomans in his way to the Sultan. Because again, we are the Sultans of Swing. Again, and whose son is held captive, forcing Vlad the Elder to favor the will of Turkey, and eventually his friend John and Vlad's other advisors of the world revolt against him, killing him and his son Marcella. Again, after 5 years of torture and very much abuse, Raidu had died in captivity, while Dracula escaped to claim the throne, Wallachia, at the age of 18. His reign only has lasted a year before he was forced to flee his principality, fearing his father's killer. In 1451, legend goes, Dracula finally tired of running, threw himself into Hyundi's mercy, hoping to add legitimacy to his regent rule. Hyundi then also took Dracula under his wing, teaching him the arts of the war, like the book The Art of War that my dad says he read, but he never read, and oversees Vlad's prearranged marriage to Zofia, who again he despised. After that year of marriage, Dracula and Hyandi, having died in the meantime, considered the obligation fulfilled and expelled his wife and daughter, Liliath, again, and left in care of the Romani from the Romani women named Gretchen, while Zofia decided to take her own life rather than be a peasant. A peasant is a slave. Again, assuming the throne, Dracula married his love of his life, Maria. They had a son. They shit out a baby named Vlad Topoulius. He also ordered everybody around associated with his father's death, impaled by again, ordered by massive assault on Turkey, misled the order of the nation, massive assault on Turkey, misled by the vision of Varney, who saw potential in the young despot, and there Dracula was once defeated in the Battle of 1459. After that, Dracula was supposed to be defeated in the Turkish war led by the Turok, who left him alive, openly seizes control of Transylvania. Other reaccounts also suggest and further suggest he has defeated the Turkish army, who actually mortally have wounded by nearly half or almost all the immortal mutants by Ansal Banor, all now better known as Apocalypse, and his band of Dark Riders, not to get confused with Apocalypse from X-Men. Then again, in efforts, Dracula and the rest of the Romanis rend the Healing. Instead, Leanda, secretly vampirized Dracula into coming in the grips of the newfound dark powers of the universe, and then too late to find Maria from Turok. They soon avenged her by slaying the warlords. Vlad then also set back to attack Romania, whom he blamed for his transformation into Dracula. Gretchen also lost her son to the Prince of Desperation and Desperation. Under her own desperation and her own selflessness, she used her spell to transform Lilith into the vampire as well. In retaliation, also made her immune to the vampiric weaknesses, ensuring that her will grow up to be a hunter just like her father Dracula. Soon after, where Varney empowered the servant Nimrod, again, funny, Nimrod, to act as a vampire lord in secret, leading him to fight with Dracula on the test of his strength and his loyalty to Father Dracula. Taking Varney's title for the true vampire lord of the nation and the dark awesome Transylvanian Romanian nation, Dracula drank of Varney's blood, seemingly destroyed the vampire lord, assumed his power on his own accords, his own demands, his own reason, and his own dark hand fist. Again, he has conflict where he learned about the book The Dark Hold. Again, we saw that in WandaVision, The Dark Hold, the dark book of dark magic, and then end the Montesi formula by destroying all vampire life. However, that didn't stay that way. However, Dracula sent the thief Margot to retrieve the tome from the Vatican City, the city of the Vatican, and the thieves were slain as this book was stolen, the Dark Hold, and they began a century of long feud with Dracula. Dracula has also vampirized many several women, training them to be his loves or his brides, and then avenged himself against Murad II. Following the assassination in 1471, Dracula abducted everybody and stole the throne, remained in Castle Dracula near Sargoth, again a century after the time, and during that time he was forced to confront and kill his son, Vlad Topoulius, who then had been raised by Romania and taught to hate him. In 1496, legend has it, Dracula was approached by emissaries of Bologna, Spain, and Prussia, not Russia, Prussia, and then requested that he remained out of respective nations. This only irritated Dracula to all of hell and back again, after slaughtering the emissaries and missionaries in his first tour of grand escape of Europe. Even though he tried to escape it, then he eventually returned to Transylvania, where he pursued the man known as Hans. Not Hans, not Prince Hans, just Hans. Also sought revenge against the vampiric threats, and suffering from frostbite, Hans again nursed to health by Richard Van Helsing, yeah, like Van Helsing, the movie Van Helsing, to become true lovers, where Hans has recovered enough to fight Dracula back and subsequently killed Rachel, pregnant with Hans' child, vowed to her line to oppose Dracula until the day the family died. In the 1500s, during that time, they encountered an alchemist who battled Puritan adventurer Solomon Kane. She escaped, and then again with his wife, and then they returned feeling guilty by leaving Dracula around. Literally, they take a stake to him with an ornate cross, the death of a vampire's like cross. We know that because we know that because come on, that's the way a vampire is. But then they tried to steal Dracula's diary book and found several one of his weaknesses was by killing him with a cross. 1600s. He encountered Elizabeth Bathory, who was a relation from the Blood Countess or the Dark Countess again. And then, due to her custom of being a virgin, the blood has been affected by effective agent, long-last one agent. In the macabre tradition, to resist Dracula's control, almost to entrap him in forevermore, and then eventually gain the upper hand to swallow her. Again, Dracula ruled over a Spanish province and basically encountered what we call the Golden Angel. In 1661, Dracula, tired of his stupid brides, sought out some more reserved brides and settled in American women during Charity Brown in Salem, Massachusetts, hence why we had the Salem witch trials. Witchcraft. Again, this goes all the way into 1670, where again we have Switzerland. Again, and then we already have this whole idea of the bazaar cows spending the time in Switzerland. And then before it was met to the hand of Howard the Duck. In 1700s, Dracula again went to Germany. He tried to enslave a bunch of villagers by capturing them, and then they tied him to a stake. Village priest Father Eisner has dosed him with the holy water to drive him away. Except that did not work because he came back to life and killed everybody after King Louis had happened back in 1775 and surmised a plan to again hold the Darkhold book. Little did they know, they flee to France, and then basically Austria got involved, Austria and all the rest of the dumbasses. And then 1795, Baron Gregory Rousseau was then bitten by a female werewolf in an attempt, and Gregory then became the first of the Rossoffs, bearing the cost of lycanthropy after a stake of inadvertently removing the reanimation we know of Dracula, put on the infamous Pit of the Death. In the 1800s, they found they infiltrated Castle Dracula and invaded Castle Dracula and attacked Castle Dracula back in 1809. They recovered the abducted wife, Valana, and again was sued and tried in the pit of death. The combat Dracula's wife, including Valana, they escaped and then arranged the brides to be staked to death by the giant cross that killed vampires. In 1823, Dracula returned to Cologne, Germany, and then basically fulfilled the promise over 70 years ago that he did not do because he's a stupid procrastinator. He then forced his way to a hospital room, dying with the sister of Marie Asner, and then Reichenbach Clinic then demanded that she acknowledge him as the savior, even though she's not a savior. She's not the savior, and he ain't the savior. So then they crucified their asses and then forced them to reconcile. Dracula vampirized many victims in the century, and then had the young wife we know, Count Vossois. Count Vossois, again, kept his wife in prison and sustained an animal's blood after 20 years of abuse in hell and all captivity and all of hell and back in all of blood again. Countess refused to drink anything but human blood. Then Count Vossois was so terrible and so terrified of Dracula himself, then he decided to kill him with a wood arrow through the heart. And basically the whole Van Helsing shit again. So then Archibald Strang and Liza Strang, they killed each other and basically the ministry. And then they traveled and escaped to Savannah, Georgia, to the great deep south of Georgia, and then tried to vampirize this girl named Suzanne Harlow, who's a young girl who has vampiricized DNA and then basically brainwashed by Hydra, and then basically the whole Bloodstone won. Then they had this whole idea about the Annabelle story. Again, Annabelle. Well, she returns to Transylvania, and the Legion has destroyed them all. Annabelle, again, was related to Dracula, even though the movies are slightly separate. In 1870, Dracula took a revenge on the onset of the French and the Prussians, and basically tried to take over Vienna. Vienna waits for you. Captain Cutlass, who's a pirate of the French, looted some of Dracula's wealth and gold in 1875. Dracula vampirized the captain and and then basically in front of the 3-year-old daughter, Mary Ann, and somehow managed to contain herself and contain until captured until 1903. Dracula then attacked in Madrid in 1879, where Count Dracula probably Nardo Sudol, again the daughter Maria, had then became a victim as well. Oh my god, just keeps going and going and going and going. But basically, that is a story about Dracula. Long story short, that's the story of Dracula. I only went about into the 1800s. So if you want more, uh, you're gonna have to read that on your own time because, yeah, I'm at school. So I'll see you later.